What makes an application data intensive? Well, today almost all applications depend on one way or the other on data. All apps are data apps, if you will. But when we think about the requirements for an application, we see that the data requirements today become more and more rigorous, and that's the sign of data intensity. The term data-intensive application was coined by Dr. Martin Kleppmann. Think about the primary challenges in your application. If those are compute resources, CPU, storage, networking, then you're dealing with a compute-intensive application. But if you're worried about the speed of data ingestion, the query complexity, the latency of your data processing, the volume of the data, you're dealing with a data-intensive application. Through the rise of the cloud, the ability to scale out rather than scale up, separation of storage and compute and serverless architectures, combine this with a more data-centric and data-driven approach, you see how our challenges are moving from computing towards the data. Data intensity depends on many factors. For applications, important attributes that drive the intensity of apps are shown here. The size of the data, are you dealing with gigabytes, terabytes, petabytes? Query complexity, the number of joins in your queries, the query latency. What is your ingestion speed and volume? And what are your concurrency requirements? How many users are hitting your app? And while intensity grows in each of those attribute dimensions, it is really their combination that increases challenges exponentially. Working with a large data size presents its own set of challenges, but reducing latency in light of growing data size, while more users are issuing more complex queries, now it's getting really intense. Yet, that is exactly the challenges many applications face today. This is not an academic exercise or a new crouton on top of the buzzword salad. Data intensity is real. And SingleStore solves data-intensive problems every day. From supporting thousands of users at Uber, or providing dashboards to 40,000 users at a Tier 1 wealth management firm, performing streaming analytics on 300,000 events per second at Comcast, ingesting and analyzing data from 1.2 million smart meters, or handling 100 billion events per day for IoT asset management at Armis. SingleStore helps you to thrive in a data-intensive environment. I invite you to visit us at SingleStore.com and calculate your data intensity score based on the 5 dimensions I mentioned. Find out how your data intensity stacks up against that of other organizations. And there are other attributes as well that affect the intensity of data in applications and in the organization overall. How many data sources are you dealing with? How much data movement? What degree of automation do you have in your processes, and are your analytics primarily descriptive or predictive, forward-looking? The important point I want to make is data intensity is a good thing, and it is also inevitable. Now, how you deal with it, that becomes differentiating. You want to be in a position to take advantage of data intensity, not succumb to it by increasing complexity. But unfortunately, that is the reality for many applications today. You might start out with a single operational database, but you realize I also need to handle streaming data. And maybe some documents are stored in a NoSQL document database. Now you also want to provide analytics, and here comes a data warehouse. Things become to slow down, technology has friction when integrated, so you add a caching layer to speed things up. But wouldn't it be nice if the application had search capabilities? Oh, and I would like to provide user recommendations. So here comes a search engine and maybe Spark for AI and ML. And what you've created is a Franken app, a highly complex system with many technologies, a system that is difficult to maintain and nearly impossible to scale. We believe there's a better way, the SingleStore way, with a general purpose, cloud-native database for transactional and analytical workloads, with multi-model capabilities for documents, georeference data, search, SQL push down from Spark, built for speed. This allows data intensity without complexity, and that is a measure of digital maturity.